Humans walk out of peace negotiations. The galaxy instantly regrets it. As Operation Umbra unfolds with devastating precision, every Zeraxian warship and planetary defense grid simultaneously shuts down, leaving mighty worlds vulnerable. A chilling message echoes across 17 species communication channels. We could have done worse. Next time we will. The Concord's thousand-year unity shatters overnight. The Unity Pavilion hung like a crystalline jewel at the heart of conquered space, its magnificent spires and transparent domes reflecting the light of 3 distant suns. Within its grand council chamber, representatives from 17 species sat arranged in concentric circles, their varied anatomies accommodated by custom-designed chairs, hoverpods, and suspension fields. The air was thick with tension, despite environmental systems calibrated to maintain the perfect balance of gases for all present. Admiral Elaine Reyes stood rigidly at the back of the human delegation, her Terran fleet uniform immaculate, despite the 6 months of brutal siege warfare she'd witnessed on humanity's frontier colonies. Her dark eyes revealed nothing, but her right hand occasionally brushed the ceremonial sidearm at her hip, a gesture not lost on the Zeraxian guards, who monitored the proceedings with compound eyes that missed nothing. At the front of the human contingent, Susan Malik arranged her documents with practiced precision. The former legal scholar had transitioned to diplomacy after the first Concord incursions, bringing with her a razor-sharp mind and unflappable demeanor that had proven invaluable during these negotiations. Today, however, even Malik's composure seemed strained as she glanced back at Reyes, with a look that conveyed volumes. "The human delegation will please take their designated positions," announced the towering Jaren observer, its chitinous mandibles clicking between words. The insectoid being served as chronicler of interspecies law, a position that was supposed to be neutral, though Reyes had long suspected otherwise. Malik stepped forward, her voice calm but carrying. "The delegation from Earth acknowledges the Council and awaits today's agenda." From the elevated central platform, General Cathar of the Zeraxian hegemony rose to his full 3-meter height. His scaled skin shimmered with iridescent patterns that Reyes had learned to read as smugness. "The Conquered welcomes Earth's representatives," Cathar began, gesturing with clawed hands. "After 6 months of unfortunate conflict on your outer territories, we are pleased to see reason prevail." Reyes clenched her jaw. The unfortunate conflict had cost 30,000 human lives when Zeraxian battlecruisers had opened fire on unarmed research stations. The subsequent siege of the frontier colonies had only ended when Earth's quantum fold drive technology had allowed their smaller fleet to outmaneuver the conquered forces. Cathar continued, his voice resonating through translator fields. "Today marks the culmination of our discussions. The High Council has formulated terms that will bring humanity fully into the embrace of galactic civilization." Malik nodded, her expression neutral. "We look forward to fair and equitable terms, General." A ripple of something like amusement passed through the alien delegations. Reyes noticed a Havari representative's skin, flush crimson, their species equivalent of laughter. Cathar spread his arms in what he clearly believed was a magnanimous gesture. "The terms are simple. In exchange for conquered protection and limited trade access, Earth will surrender its quantum fold drive technology for safekeeping." "Safekeeping," Reyes echoed, unable to contain herself. "And what guarantees do we receive in return?" The chamber fell silent. Humans were known for their directness, but interrupting a High Council pronouncement was unprecedented. Cathar's scales flashed a pattern of irritation. "Admiral, the proper protocol—" "The Admiral speaks with my authority," Malik interjected smoothly. "Earth's delegation would like clarification on the proposed exchange." Cathar's upper lip curled, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. "Very well. Earth's colonies will receive protectorate status. Your worlds will benefit from our defense networks. Your industries will receive appropriate guidance, and your species will begin the path toward eventual consideration for associate membership. Eventual consideration, Reyes repeated. After how many years? A mere century or two, Cathar replied dismissively. Some species wait millennia. You should be honored by such expedited treatment. Malik maintained her diplomatic smile, but Reyes could see the calculation behind her eyes. And during this transitional period, what authority would Earth retain over its own affairs? The Jaren observer stepped forward, mandibles working rapidly. As is standard for protectorate status, all major technological, military, and interstellar diplomatic decisions would require Concord approval. This is for the safety of all civilized space, including our quantum fold drive designs, Malik clarified. Especially those, Cathar said, his tone hardening. Such technology in the hands of an emerging species represents a destabilizing influence on established order. Reyes felt her blood pressure rising. The quantum fold drive was humanity's one advantage, the difference between independence and subjugation. The technology allowed human ships to create localized space-time distortions, effectively folding vast distances for near-instantaneous travel. More importantly, it could be adapted for defensive measures that had kept the conquered fleets at bay. The preliminary concession documents require signature before we proceed to further deliberations, Cathar announced, gesturing to a hovering data sphere that pulsed with legal text in multiple languages. Malik turned to confer with Reyes, their heads close together. They're not negotiating, Reyes whispered. This is a surrender document. Malik nodded almost imperceptibly. The terms are worse than we anticipated. Protectorate status is little more than glorified slavery. We should leave, now. Malik's eyes flashed with determination. Not yet. Sign the preliminary document. I need time to formally withdraw us under subsection 15 of the Concord Charter. That gives you 12 hours to activate contingencies. Reyes understood. Their plan had always been prepared for this eventuality, but the timing had to be precise. With a stiff nod, she approached the data sphere and pressed her palm against its surface. Her genetic signature transferred to the document, registering her acknowledgement, though not yet her acceptance. Cathar's scales rippled with satisfaction. The Conquered acknowledges the human signature. We shall reconvene in 6 hours to finalize the terms of your protected status. As they walked back to their delegation's quarters, Malik leaned close to Reyes. We can't be slaves in peace's disguise, she murmured. Initiate eclipse. Reyes gave a single, sharp nod and touched the communicator disguised as a rank insignia on her collar. 3 rapid taps in a specific pattern sent an encrypted quantum burst to the waiting human fleet. Operation Eclipse had begun. Lieutenant Commander Javier Santos sat bolt upright in his command chair as the quantum receiver on the UES Phantom chimed with the signal he'd been waiting for. The stealth frigate had been hiding in the shadow of a rogue planetoid at the edge of the Concorde's detection grid for weeks. It's confirmed, sir, his communications officer reported. Admiral Reyes has given the eclipse authorization. Santos nodded grimly. Send acknowledgement, then activate phase shift technology. All ships in the Ghost Fleet are to go dark immediately. Throughout the human defensive line, 27 specialized vessels engage their experimental dark field generators. The technology, derived from the same principles as the quantum fold drive, bent light and other detection waves around their hulls. For all practical purposes, the ships simply vanished from conventional sensors. Phase shift complete. Commander, we're invisible to standard Concord scanning arrays. Santos allowed himself a tight smile. Position update on Xeraxian supply convoys? 2 major convoys detected, sir. The Orion route carrying military supplies and the Cygnus stream transporting industrial materials. Both are minimally defended, as per Concord standard protocols. They've grown complacent, Santos observed. Set intercept course for the Orion convoy. Prepare boarding teams. Remember, no casualties unless absolutely necessary. The UES Phantom slipped silently through space, its dark hull absorbing rather than reflecting the distant starlight. When it reached the lumbering Xeraxian convoy, the human vessel matched velocity perfectly before extending specialized docking tubes to the lid ship. The boarding was over in minutes. The Xeraxian crew, caught completely unaware, offered minimal resistance when faced with human marines in full tactical gear. Following Admiral Reyes's strict orders, the human forces used only non-lethal suppression technology. All Xeraxian personnel secured, sir, reported the Marine captain over the comm. Ship controls rerouted to our systems. Excellent, Santos replied. Begin the reprogramming. Throughout the convoy, human technicians uploaded specialized virus code into the Xeraxian navigation systems. The ships would continue to their destinations, but with critical components of their cargo missing, removed by the boarding teams and transferred to the Phantom's hold. More importantly, when the ships arrived, the virus would spread through the Concorde's network, creating subtle data corruption that would take months to detect and years to fully repair. Simultaneously, a similar operation was being conducted on the Cygnus Stream convoy by the UES Spectre, another Ghost Fleet vessel. Within hours, the first economic tremors would begin to ripple through the Concorde. Without firing a single shot, humanity had just launched the most sophisticated attack in galactic history. Back in the Unity Pavilion, Susan Malik stood before the full Concorde Council, her posture perfect, her expression resolute. 6 hours had passed since the preliminary signature, exactly as planned. Esteemed representatives of the Concorde, she began, her voice clear and unwavering. I come before you with a formal declaration from Earth's unified government. General Cathar leaned forward, his scales showing anticipation. The rest of the council chamber had fallen silent, sensing the gravity of the moment. Earth hereby issues formal withdrawal from these proceedings, effective immediately. Malik announced, We reject protectorate status and all associated terms. For a moment, stunned silence filled the chamber. Then chaos erupted as delegates from 17 species began shouting, gesturing, and emitting various sounds of disbelief and outrage. Cathar rose to his full height, his scale patterns flashing danger signals. This is unprecedented. No species has ever withdrawn from Concorde negotiations. Perhaps that explains the one-sided nature of your negotiation process, Malik replied calmly. Humanity will chart its own course among the stars. The Jaren observer stepped forward, mandibles clicking frantically. This withdrawal violates 17 subsections of Concorde law. The penalties cannot be enforced without our consent, Malik interrupted. Earth never ratified the full Concorde Charter. As per your own foundational documents, we entered these talks as a sovereign entity and leave as one. A Pelleran delegate, their luminescent skin pulsing with agitation, called out, The human ships remain blockaded. This is mere posturing. Malik smiled. I suggest you check your latest fleet communications. Counselor. As if on cue, a Xeraxian aide rushed into the chamber and approached General Cathar. The alien scales paled to an ashen gray as he received the news. What is the meaning of this? Cathar demanded, his voice now dangerously low. 2 supply convoys report unexpected inventory discrepancies, and our central data networks are experiencing anomalies. Consider it a demonstration, Malik replied. Humanity comes in peace, but we will not come in chains. This is an act of war, roared a Havari representative, rising from his hoverpod. Malik gathered her documents calmly. No, Counselor. An act of war would involve casualties. You'll find we haven't harmed a single being. She paused, looking directly at Cathar. That distinction is important to us. As Susan Malik led the human delegation from the council chamber, the Unity Pavilion erupted into unprecedented disorder. For the first time in its 1,000-year history, the Concorde's unity was fracturing, not from external attack, but from the simple act of a species choosing to walk away. Admiral Reyes stood before the Fleet Council on Earth, facing the skeptical stares of her fellow officers. The quantum encrypted communication chamber was secure, but trust had become a scarce commodity. "You've started a war we cannot win," stated Admiral Huang, the oldest member of the council. "The Concorde outnumbers us 100 to 1. "Numbers aren't everything," Reyes countered. "Our Ghost Fleet has already proven that." "Parlor tricks," dismissed Vice Admiral Okafor. "They'll adapt to our phase shift technology within weeks, by which time we'll have deployed the next generation systems," Reyes said firmly. "Daniel Hu's team is already implementing countermeasures to their countermeasures." The mention of Dr. Daniel Hu, Earth's foremost quantum physicist, caused a ripple of murmurs. His brilliance was unquestioned, but many found his methods unorthodox. "This isn't just about technology," Reyes continued, her voice hardening. "It's about perception. For 1,000 years, the Concorde has subjugated lesser species through a combination of military might and the illusion of inevitability. We've shattered that illusion." Fleet Admiral Larson, the head of the council, leaned forward. "And at what cost, Elaine? We've painted a target on humanity's back." "With respect, sir, that target was already there. The moment our first quantum-fold ship outpaced their fastest cruiser, we were marked for subjugation." Reyes planted her hands on the table. "We must be ruthless, or dead." "Ruthless doesn't mean reckless," Larson cautioned. "The civilian government is divided on your actions." Reyes nodded grimly. "I'm aware. The Martian Parliament is particularly vocal. On Mars, the oldest and most established human colony, debates had raged for days. Public forums and government chambers alike were filled with heated arguments about the wisdom of antagonizing the Concorde. "They could glass our worlds from orbit," one parliamentarian had shouted during a particularly heated session. "Not if they can't find our fleet to get past our defenses," another had countered. "The Admiral's strategy gives us leverage we've never had before." The division wasn't limited to Mars. Throughout human space, citizens wrestled with fear and pride in equal measure. News feeds were dominated by experts arguing potential outcomes, while everyday conversations turned to questions of survival versus sovereignty. In his laboratory complex beneath Olympus Mons, Dr. Daniel Hu worked tirelessly, oblivious to the political storms raging above. The quantum physicist had assembled a team of the brightest minds from across human space, all focused on perfecting what the media had dubbed the invisibility cloak. "The Zeraxians will adapt," Hu explained to his team, gesturing at holographic models floating above their workstations. "They'll recalibrate their sensors to detect the minute gravitational distortions our phase shift creates." "So we're already obsolete?" asked a young researcher. Hu smiled. "No, we're simply moving to version 2. He expanded the hologram to show a modified schematic. "Instead of trying to hide the distortion, we're going to create thousands of false positives. Every piece of space debris, every asteroid, every comet will register as a potential human ship." Across the conquered territories, alien scientists were indeed scrambling to counter the human advantage. The phase shift technology represented the most significant challenge to conquered military supremacy in centuries. Their technology derives from the quantum fold principles. A Zeraxian scientist reported to General Cathar. "They're essentially creating a localized bubble of altered space-time." "Can we detect it?" Cathar demanded. "Theoretically, yes. But implementing a detection grid across conquered space would require resources we don't currently have allocated." Cathar's scales darkened with rage. "Allocate them!" Meanwhile, the human Ghost Fleet continued its campaign of strategic infiltration. Over the course of 2 weeks, stealth teams penetrated 3 conquered outposts, exfiltrating terabytes of classified data, while leaving no trace of their presence except for small Terran flags left in the station commander's private quarters. Psychological warfare at its most effective. The data revealed vulnerabilities in conquered defense systems that had never been tested, because no species had ever dared to challenge them directly. "They've grown complacent," Admiral Reyes told the Fleet Council during her next briefing. "Their technological edge has made them arrogant. That's why Operation Umbra will succeed." Admiral Larson studied the operation plans with a concerned expression. "This goes beyond demonstration. Elaine, this is humiliation." "Precisely," Reyes acknowledged without hesitation. "The Concord understands power. We need to speak their language, but in our own dialect." As the Council debated, human intelligence officers were already setting the stage for Operation Umbra, the most audacious move in the escalating shadow conflict. On the 93rd day after humanity's withdrawal from peace negotiations, Operation Umbra commenced with synchronized precision. At exactly 0300 Universal Earth Time, specially designed quantum viruses were simultaneously activated within every major Zeraxian warship and planetary defense grid. The viruses had been planted during previous Ghost Fleet infiltrations, lying dormant until this moment. Throughout conquered space, Zeraxian commanders watched in horror as their ship systems shut down one by one. Weapons, propulsion, life support regulated to minimum levels, and communications limited to emergency channels only. On 17 Zeraxian worlds, planetary defense shields flickered and died, leaving populations vulnerable for the first time in generations. The disabled state would last exactly 6 hours, long enough to make the point, but not so long as to cause casualties from life support failures. As the systems went offline, every communication device across conquered territory received the same message, translated into all 17 official languages. "We could have done worse. Next time we will." The message was followed by a detailed inventory of Zeraxian fleet positions and defense capabilities, proof that human intelligence had penetrated to the heart of the Concord's military infrastructure. In the Unity Pavilion, an emergency session of the High Council convened, with representatives from all 17 species present, either physically or via secure hologram. "This is unprecedented," roared the Havari Prime Speaker, his crimson skin nearly purple with rage. "The humans must be made an example of." "With what ships?" countered the Peleran delegate, their luminescent skin pulsing with anxiety. "The Zeraxian fleet is paralyzed." General Cathar, his scales ashen with humiliation, could barely contain his fury. "This dishonor will be answered with the full might of the conquered once our systems are restored." For the first time in the Council's history, the Jaren observer broke protocol by directly addressing the delegates. "Perhaps," the insectoid being suggested, mandibles working carefully, "we should consider that the humans could have inflicted casualties but chose restraint. This may indicate an openness to genuine negotiation." "Negotiation," Cathar sputtered. "After this?" "Especially after this," replied a new voice. All eyes turned to see Jing of the Pelerans, one of the Concord's oldest member species, the luminescent being floated forward on gossamer appendages. For 1,000 years, the Concord has operated on the principle that military might dictate diplomatic status. Jing stated calmly. "The humans have simply demonstrated their might, in a way that respects life. Is that not worthy of consideration?" "They violated our sovereignty," Cathar insisted. "Did we not violate theirs first?" Jing countered. "Who fired upon their research stations without provocation? Who laid siege to their colonies?" The council chamber fell silent as members contemplated this uncomfortable truth. "I move," Jing continued, "that we recognize the changed circumstances and extend an invitation for renewed negotiations, as equals." "Seconded," called the representative from Havari, surprising everyone. The traditionally aggressive species rarely aligned with Peleran initiatives. Cathar's scales flashed patterns of outrage. "This is capitulation!" "No," Jing replied serenely. "This is adaptation, something the Concord has forgotten how to do." When the vote was called, 4 species, Peleran, Havari, Jirun, and Mox, voted in favor of new negotiations. It wasn't a majority, but it was unprecedented dissent within the usually monolithic Concord. As the council session dissolved into argument, representatives from these 4 species quietly arranged for back-channel communications with Earth. Each had recognized the shifting balance of power and sought to position themselves advantageously in whatever new order emerged. Jing of the Pelerans went further, secretly contacting Admiral Reyes directly. "Your strategy was brilliantly executed, the luminescent being acknowledged in their private quantum encrypted communication. But brilliance without wisdom often burns too brightly and expires too quickly." "We seek only equality and security," Reyes replied cautiously. "Then perhaps we can help each other," Jing suggested. "The Peleran archives contain tactical assessments of all conquered species, information that might prove valuable in your continued demonstrations. And in exchange, economic concessions when new treaties are eventually formed. Preferential trading status with Earth and its colonies." Reyes considered the offer. "I'll need to consult with our leadership." "Of course." Jing's image pulsed with what might have been amusement. "But do not delay too long. Others will make similar overtures." Jing's prediction proved accurate. Within days, delegations from Havari, Mox, and even the supposedly neutral Jirun had established secret contact with Earth's representatives, each offering intelligence or technology in exchange for future considerations. The monolithic Concord was fracturing, not through direct attack, but through the subtle pressure of changed perception. Humanity had demonstrated not only technological capability, but strategic restraint, a combination that some conquered species found worthy of respect, and others viewed as an opportunity to realign ancient power structures. President Lin of the United Earth Government stood at the center of the secure conference room, her expression grave as she addressed the assembled leaders from across human space. "Operation Umbra was a tactical success beyond our expectations," she acknowledged, nodding to Admiral Reyes. "But tactical success must translate to strategic advantage, or we risk escalation without end." The colonial governors and military leaders murmured agreement. The Ghost Fleet operations had bought humanity breathing room, but not permanent security. "The Concord is divided for the first time in centuries," Lin continued. 4 species have opened back-channel communications. This presents an unprecedented opportunity. "Or a trap," cautioned the governor of Titan. "Possibly both," Lin conceded. "Which is why our next move must be calibrated precisely." She gestured, and a holographic display materialized above the conference table, showing technical schematics. "Doctor Who has proposed something revolutionary, a joint research initiative combining our quantum fold technology with the Peleran dark field expertise." Dr. Daniel Hu stepped forward, his slender frame vibrating with barely contained enthusiasm. "The Pelerans pioneered dark field technology centuries ago, but abandoned it as impractical at scale," the physicist explained. "Combined with our quantum fold principles, however, we can create a defensive shield that would make human worlds impervious to conventional attack." "Why would the Pelerans share such technology?" asked Admiral Larson skeptically. "Because they've been chafing under Zeraxian dominance for 300 years, Reyes interjected. "And because we're offering something equally valuable, a counterbalance to conquered power structures." President Lin nodded. "Precisely. We're not seeking to destroy the conquered, but to reform it, to create a truly equal community of species, rather than a hierarchy enforced by military might." "And if the Zeraxians refuse to accept this new reality?" questioned the Mars representative. "Then we demonstrate once more that we can disable their fleet at will," Reyes said firmly. "But next time, we offer solutions rather than just warnings." The quantum dark shield technology would be shared? Asked Governor Santiago of Europa, looking concerned. Limited aspects of it, Hu clarified. Enough to prove our good faith, but with key components reserved for human implementation only. Trust, but verify, as the old saying goes. President Lin surveyed the room. This path walks between submission and destruction. It will require diplomatic finesse alongside military readiness. She turned to Susan Malik, who had been listening quietly. Envoy Malik, are you prepared to return to the negotiating table, this time with real leverage? Malik nodded, her expression determined. The conquered needs to understand that true peace comes from mutual respect, not domination. I believe they're beginning to learn that lesson. Then let us proceed, Lin declared. Admiral Reyes will maintain our defensive posture, while Envoy Malik prepares for new negotiations. Dr. Hu will coordinate the joint research initiative with Peleran scientists. She paused, looking at each face in turn. The coming weeks will determine humanity's place among the stars for generations to come. As the meeting concluded, Admiral Reyes approached Susan Malik privately. Do you think they'll actually negotiate in good faith this time? Reyes asked, her voice low. Malik smiled thinly. Faith has nothing to do with it. They'll negotiate because we've given them no choice, and because some of them are beginning to see advantages in a more balanced Concord. Cathar will never accept equality with lesser species. Cathar may find himself outvoted, Malik replied. Empires evolve or they collapse. The Concord is at that inflection point, thanks to you. Reyes shook her head. Thanks to all of us. Your diplomatic maneuvering gave us the time we needed. Hu's technology gave us the edge. The Ghost Fleet executed perfectly. She paused. And you're right. Faith isn't necessary when the alternatives are clear. As they parted ways, each to prepare for their role in the coming negotiations, a new sense of possibility had replaced the grim determination of months past. Humanity had walked away from false peace to secure real justice, and in doing so, had changed the course of galactic politics forever. The new negotiations took place, not in the Unity Pavilion, with its hierarchical arrangement designed to reinforce Concord dominance, but aboard the UES Harmony, a newly commissioned diplomatic vessel with a circular conference chamber where all delegates sat at equal height and distance from the center. The symbolism was not lost on the Concord representatives. 7 species had accepted Earth's invitation: Peleran, Havari, Jarun, Mox, Taurid, Vesh, and, most significantly, Zeraxian. General Cathar entered the chamber with visible reluctance, his scale patterns subdued. The Zeraxian military had suffered not just tactical defeat, but profound loss of face. Yet his presence signaled recognition of changed realities. Susan Malik opened the proceedings with characteristic directness. Distinguished representatives, we gather as sovereign equals with the goal of establishing lasting peace, based on mutual respect and security. The Jarun Observer, now officially a delegate, clicked approval. The Jarun Collective acknowledges humanity's approach as consistent with the original spirit of the Concord Charter. Before, certain interpretations prevailed. This veiled criticism of Zeraxian influence caused Cathar's scales to darken momentarily, but he remained silent. Jing of the Pelerans floated forward. The Peleran Communion brings news of progress. Our preliminary exchange of technological principles with human scientists has yielded promising results. We propose formalizing this cooperation as part of any new agreement. Technology sharing between species must be regulated by Concord protocols, Cathar objected, finding his voice. Those protocols were designed to maintain technological disparity, not parity, Malik pointed out calmly. Earth proposes new guidelines based on mutual benefit, rather than centralized control. Over the next 14 days, the delegates worked through centuries of entrenched policies. The Zeraxians resisted at every turn, but found themselves increasingly isolated as other species saw advantages in a more balanced relationship with humanity. The breakthrough came when Dr. Daniel Hu and a Pelleran scientist named Lumina gave a joint presentation on the quantum dark shield technology. Their demonstration, protecting a small moon from a barrage of energy weapons, proved that defensive capabilities had advanced beyond offensive ones, potentially rendering large-scale warfare obsolete. "This changes everything," the Havari delegate declared. "A balance of power, where defense supersedes offense, creates space for true cooperation." Even Cathar could not deny the implications. If planetary shields could withstand fleet bombardment, the traditional Zeraxian approach to enforcing conquered edicts became unworkable. On the 17th day of negotiations, the new accords were ready for signing. 7 key provisions formed the foundation of the agreement. First, humanity would be admitted to the Concord Council with full voting rights, equal to founding members. Second, reparations would be paid to human colonies damaged during the frontier attacks, funded by the Zeraxian hegemony as the primary aggressor. Third, joint peacekeeping missions would be established, with mixed-species crews enforcing agreed-upon galactic laws. Fourth, technology sharing would proceed under new protocols, emphasizing mutual benefit and defensive applications. Fifth, the Concord Charter would be amended to explicitly prohibit unprovoked military action against any sentient species, whether member or non-member. Sixth, a new dispute resolution system would replace the previous hierarchy-based judgment process. Seventh, and perhaps most importantly, the principle of sovereign equality would be formally recognized as the foundation of all interspecies relations. As Susan Malik pressed her palm to the document, officially committing Earth to the new agreement, she exchanged a glance with Admiral Reyes, who stood at attention nearby. "A new beginning," Malik murmured. Reyes nodded, her expression solemn. "Earned through readiness for war, secured through wisdom in victory." After the ceremony concluded, Reyes found herself alone on the observation deck of the UES Harmony, gazing out at the assembled ships of both human and conquered fleets. The vessels hung in space like a frozen ballet, weapons dormant, running lights bright against the void. "Admiral," a voice called softly. She turned to find Jing of the Pellerans floating nearby, their luminescent form casting gentle light across the deck. "The Pelleran people have a saying," Jing offered. "The strongest current is the one you cannot see, until you are already carried by it." Reyes smiled faintly. "On Earth, we might say the tide has turned." "Indeed." Jing's form pulsed thoughtfully. "You could have struck harder, caused devastation rather than merely inconvenience. That would have made us no better than those who attacked our colonies," Reyes replied. "Restraint isn't weakness. It's the highest form of strength." "A philosophy the conquered had forgotten," Jing acknowledged. "Perhaps that is why this moment was inevitable." They stood in companionable silence, watching as a Zeraxian cruiser and a human frigate maneuvered past each other, their formations now coordinated rather than confrontational. "Will it last?" Reyes asked finally. "Nothing lasts forever," Jing replied. "But some changes run too deep to be undone easily. The conquered has been transformed, not destroyed, but reborn." As Jing departed, Admiral Reyes remained at the viewport, contemplating the space beyond. The UES Valor, her flagship, had taken position alongside a Concord defense platform. 6 months ago, such proximity would have triggered immediate hostilities. Now, it symbolized a fragile but growing trust. She thought of the cost, the lives lost on the frontier colonies, the sleepless nights planning operations that could have led to galactic war, the moral weight of decisions that had put everything at risk. "Worth it," she whispered to the stars, "for those who will come after us." In the distance, beyond the assembled fleet, a new star was forming. Its birth throes, visible as a luminous nebula spanning light years. In cosmic terms, this moment of history was equally brief, a mere instant in the life of the galaxy. But for the 17 species who called this region of space home, everything had changed. Humanity had walked away from false peace, risked everything for true justice, and in doing so, transformed not just their own future, but that of an entire galactic civilization. As Admiral Elaine Reyes turned from the viewport to rejoin the diplomatic reception, she carried with her the certainty that some victories aren't measured in territory conquered or enemies defeated, but in futures, reimagined, and principles upheld. The stars themselves seemed to bear witness to this truth, their ancient light illuminating the path forward, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals under the infinite cosmic sky.